And we're live! Hello everyone and welcome to the dungeon. I'm your host as usual, the Dungeon Master Vibe. And today we're back for another segment of the morning dungeon. Yay! So last time we did one of these, we did a class review. And today we're going to be continuing with some more Dungeons & Dragons stories. Continuing with a story of the campaign I am currently running, Heroes of the Frontier. So, how's about we just hop right into it. So, today's story starts up during the party's 12th session. Right after they had just completed the first of the temples located out on the frontier and secured a magical item, as well as Ragnar, the party's fighter and Minotaur fighter. So that a bit backwards, I guess. Anyways, the party's Minotaur fighter, was gifted what is referred to as the Grace of the Witch, as sort of a mark that gives him a few extra powers, as well as makes him actually able to read the weird glyphs left behind by the Witch Queen and her followers. Being able to read that now, he is able to finally read and decipher the letter left to him by the colleague who reincarnated him into a Minotaur. The letter, he discovers, actually details the ritual by which can be used to actually enter the realm of dreams. However, it does also explain that this rather heretical skill is looked upon very poorly, and that should anyone discover that he had found his notes, that he would likely be hunted down just like he was. Certainly perturbed by this revelation, but still curious as always with his research, decides to attempt to pursue it some more later at a later time. For the time being, the party still has a bit of a time frame, needing to recover the next of the tablets before their time is up, and Citiquin's friend begins to start losing fingers. So the party decides to, as opposed to heading back to the city to return the tablet they found, to instead head to the next temple right off the bat. So the party travels though slowly, still a bit weak from the battles within the temple. But upon actually arriving at the second of the temples, they encounter one of their enemies, Caius, the second in command of Madak, also known as the Littlefinger of the Witch's Hand. They've encountered Caius 2 times at this point. The first time being when he donned a disguise to take part in the tournament during the festival, and the second at the actual meeting of the Witch's Hand, where he introduced himself as one of his opponents during said festival. Caius, spotting them, rather being the very battle-hungry type he is, sees the party and immediately challenges Ragnar to a rematch, to which he agrees, stating no handicaps. Liking this, Caius attacks full strength, revealing his Grace of the Fire Soul, as begin casting fireballs with reckless abandon. As Ragnar is almost killed, as they were not aware that he was in fact actually a spellcaster, and certainly weren't expecting him to launch fireballs on himself to hit Ragnar. Ragnar is actually almost killed, and the rest of the party jumps in to help him. One-on-one, Caius did pretty well, but against the full brunt of the party, he is overwhelmed and defeated. The body of Caius is then buried right there in the field, and the party continues with their task. They, of course, don't really discover what his reason for being here was, but they assume that with the type of individual he was, the reason likely was in hopes of finding them before a fight. Honestly, all things considered, the way I played up this character up to this point, based on the very limited interactions, very fair assumption to have made. In any case, so with him defeated, the party looks upon the field they have entered. This field is located just on the edge of the border between the Fields of Judgment, so the first region of the frontier, and the second region of the frontier, which is sort of this very snowy landscape that the Adventuring Guild has come to refer to as the Frigid Shores. Up on the cliffside that kind of blocks off the two regions, they can spot a small decrepit tower With the only path to it being through a stone archway. The party assumes that this archway is likely the entrance to the temple within the dream. And so, tasking Fynodir once again to guard their bodies, the party enters the dream. As they enter, they find that the path is now blocked by what looks to be an old hunting cabin. Inside the cabin, they find a couple of things out of sorts. Food is unprepped, some clothes are torn and ragged, as well as an old musket is damaged hanging over the fireplace. A voice speaks to them, telling them that they must show that they can care for the needs of others in order to proceed. To which the party then sets about repairing and doing some general house chores around the place, repairing the clothing, fixing up the musket, as well as cooking a meal with the raw ingredients. Doing so, the doors of the cabin actually unlock, and they're allowed to proceed. As they proceed, however, they enter into what looks to be this winding, twisting forest, and are greeted with these they're wooden, these wood-carved statues depicting people fleeing from a pack of hungry wolves. As the party tries to traverse the forest, they find that unless they are able to perfectly follow the tracks of the wolves, they become hopelessly lost in the forest and end up backtracking. So, through a couple of survival checks, as well as trying to avoid the occasional gunshot being fired from an unknown assailant up on the cliffside, the party is able to traverse through the forest and to the next destination on the path. What they come upon next is a cave. Paintings outside the cave depict an individual being gifted a gun, well, it could be a gun, by a horned creature. Together, this horned creature and what appears to be some sort of huntsman with this rifle chase after and kill many of the wolves. Within the cave itself, the party finds a lot of wolf-type creatures who are kind of like this weird sort of spectral-type monsters. They discover rather quickly that these creatures can actually only attack them if they attempt to run away or find themselves trapped under the effects of fear. Luckily, the party itself is actually consisting of a lot of people with high wisdom, and so they are easily able to avoid the fear effects, and since they already know that they'll be attacked if they run away, they simply continue to stride forward, finding very little issue with this actual puzzle. The final obstacle between them and the tower itself is the cliff approach. On the cliff side, the winding path seems to have various rocky overlooks, and as the party travels up, the unknown assailant once again continues his attack, shooting at the party as well as firing on the actual overhangs whenever they try to take cover beneath them. His gun seems quite powerful, as it is actually able to destroy these overhangs, and the falling rocks then prove in additional trouble, making the path more difficult to traverse and threatening to push them off the cliff itself. Once again, between our very strong members of the party and our very dexterous members of the parties, they're able to avoid most of this danger and actually make it to the top of the cliff. At the top of the cliff, they enter the tower and come upon the guardian of this temple. The huntsman, who, according to the messages left within the dream, they've discovered to be named Der Freischütz. German name, by the way. I took it from some other lore stuff. Also, if you guys are familiar, I play a lot of Lobotomy Corp and Library of Ruina. So yes, I did rip the name off of that, as well as his weapon. You'll see what I mean in a second here, if you're familiar with those franchises. So they discover as they fight him that there are two major sort of mechanics with the fight himself. The huntsman's gun itself, every couple of rounds, the bullet fired will actually teleport and strike a random person, including himself. Additionally, every couple of rounds during the lair action of this, lair actions, by the way, if you don't use them, I recommend you do. They are a wonderful way to really spice up a boss fight, as they act completely independently of the actual boss themselves, allowing some cool stuff to happen, even if the enemy is, say, incapacitated, prone, grappled, anything like that. In this particular case, the lair action of this tower is on its initiative count. It teleports everyone in the room, once again, the huntsman included. It teleports everyone into a random direction for a random number of feet, which caused some serious annoyance with the party, as as they attempt to climb the stairs, only be teleported off, or get close to the enemy, only be sent back away. Valkyrie Ragnar actually got pretty lucky and was pretty consistently able to teleport in the same direction as the Huntsman, and so was able to follow him. As the Huntsman himself is actually situated on the roof, firing at them through holes in the ceiling, Ragnar decides to make use of his new magic item he acquired in the previous temple, the Wings of Grion. Using them, he sprouts some fiery wings and flies up to fight the Huntsman himself. At which point, he unfortunately discovers that he is in fact in possession of a cursed magic item. If you are flying a particular height with these wings, the wings themselves, if I didn't explain before, while you're flying in 20 feet with them, you deal some extra fire damage, and for every additional 10 feet, you deal more extra damage with it. However, if you fly too high, you yourself begin to take that damage as well, and if you deal too much of that damage in a single turn, the wings overheat, melt, and cause you to fall, and the wings themselves do not regain the ability to fly until the next dawn. Ragnar found this out the hard way, as he took quite a bit of fire damage flying up to fight him, and opted to land on the roof in order to avoid the damage further. However, now that he is mano-a-mano with the man, and he took a lot of damage from his own attacks, he is quickly knocked unconscious, and it's up to Rob to try to reach him within enough time to heal him before Ragnar dies, and Sir Quinn to try to rush to the rooftop. Luckily, both of them do have some ranged capabilities at their disposals. A quick healing word gets Ragnar back up, and Sir Quinn manages to keep the damage coming with various use of magic missile and other such spells. Sorry, taking a drink. Got my tea. Yes. What you guys drink in the morning? Coffee or tea? For tea myself, coffee's like very bitter. Don't like the taste. Never quite had a taste for it. Tea's nice though. Anyways, so the Huntsman is distracted with Rob and Quinn at this point, and Rob quick launches a healing word, getting Ragnar back in standing, but barely. So with a swift swing of his halberd, he manages to kill the Huntsman, sending his body flying off the tower, crashing to the bottom below and being defeated. It's at this point the party discovers another rather interesting statues. On the roof of the statue, on the roof of the tower, there are two different statues. One depicting the Huntsman being shot in the back by the very horned creature who gave him the musket, and the other being a depiction of the Huntsman, looking a lot less undead. If I didn't mention before, the Huntsman had his features were distinctly kind of undead looking, had a lot of real kind of dry, tight to the bone type skin, that whole look going on, glowing eyes, looking kind of like a white from. I was gonna say a white from Game of Thrones, but there were whites in this game, so yeah, he looks like a white, basically. Anywho. And the other statue depicts him still looking alive, in the arms of a kind-faced woman, with both of them being seemingly sheltered by what looks to be a statue depicting a figure in tattered robes, similar to the figure depicting in the statues back in the previous temple. With them defeated, the party recovers the second of the tablets from the statue itself, as well as when they wake, they find the musket of the Huntsman lying there next to them. The party, knowing that this will be another cool magical item, decide to gift it to Fynadir, giving him a bit of a needed boost as far as his combat capabilities go. Fynadir is very thankful to be gifted such an amazing thing, and his friendship with the party is once again sort of strengthened, as he feels he's really becoming a good helpful member of the party. They discover that the weapon itself is the weapon and choice of the Huntsman, presumably given to him by this horned figure, and is known as 7 bullets. Essentially, the weapon at any given time can only have up to 7 bullets. It can only fire its own ammunition, and it only replenishes that ammunition once all 7 are fired. with the 7 board causing the round to actually teleport and strike whoever is both within range of the weapon and is the most important person to the wielder. If no such individual is nearby, it will instead fire on the wielder themselves or just a random character in the combat. Additionally, to make it an addable ability where basically during a long rest you can actually tune and cause it to transform between either a musket, a heavy crossbow, or a longbow. That way everyone can kind of pick their flavor, you know. In Fidentil's case, he transforms it into a longbow. Having longbow proficiency being an Elfinol. So ends the time in the second temple, and they prepare to set out back to the city. During their travels back to the city, they actually encounter Rohan, the guard of the Prince of Orthier, and who tells them that he was actually received a letter asking him to assist in the establishing of a second outpost with the old tower the party was just in, the location of choice. He thanks the party, as their actions have essentially already cleared it of all of its dangers, and he thanks them for their assistance. He stays behind to set up the tower for the outpost as the party continues on their way. However, as the party manages to get back to the city, I'm kind of skipping the travel bits here because at this point the party is pretty well decked out and don't have any particular issue with most of the random encounters out on this area. So I'm just going to skip over the random encounters and such, the more travel type things, unless something particularly interesting happens. So in any case, they make it back to the city without any real issue at that point. As they arrive back to the city, they spot Jitsuna, the prince's advisor, who tells them that he and his men intend to arrest Rohan, as he is the main suspect in the kidnapping of the prince, to which the party now finds out that the prince has, in fact, been kidnapped. The party is surprised but skeptical and opt to hide that they had met Rohan during their travel. So Ragnar and Rob, they decide to wait with Jitsuna's men to see what kind of happens with all this, while Cetiquin goes to meet up with Raven and Crow to begin her long con that she's working on. So, the strange wizards gain some interest in the tablets, and so they agree to make the copies for her. Within the hour, they create what look to be 2 perfect replicas of the tablets, presumably with the information altered. And it would seem that the tablets work as a charm, as she successfully leaves them at the first drop-off, receives the payment for those, takes the other fake copies from that drop-off, and delivers them to the next drop-off. And I've seen that these copies work as well, as now everyone, presumably except for Raven and Crow, have fake copies of these tablets, and nobody but Cetiquin, and nobody is the wiser for it. Cetiquin is feeling pretty good about her long con, but the party is still pretty skeptical and worried that this is all going to blow up in their face at some point. I guess we'll just have to see, because we actually haven't even reached that point currently yet in the game. So we'll see how it goes once she gets the final tablet. While Cetiquin is doing all that, Rohan arrives. Ragnar and Rob find that he is strangely surprised at his arrest and of course believe that something is afoot. So they go to meet up with their advisor Celine, who tells them that the prince has in fact been kidnapped, and asks the party to look into the matter before Jitsuna gets the Orthier military involved. The party, believing it was the work of the witch's hand, as does the guild, set out to assault Madak's base, as he is sort of the main one they would believe would be involved, as they met Caius at the temple, same place where they were going to meet Rohan, and they already know the location of his base, so they very reasonably assume that he is likely involved in this matter. So they set out to attack his base. So the party make use of the newly established teleportation circle and head out to the way station out in the Fields of Judgment, saving them quite a bit of travel time. From the way station, they come to the realization that they killed the only guy who likely knew the plan, Caius, who so happened to be at the location both the party and Rohan were heading. So the party decide to actually go back to the temple, dig up his body, and use Speak with Dead to get some answers, which honestly was something I didn't expect them to do. It's very nice decision, plan they went with there. So riding fast, they make it there in no time, having become well accustomed to travel out on the plains. But as they arrive, the temple is actually covered up with hobgoblins, presumably looking for the body themselves. The party quickly manages to kill them as they came upon them at night, and quickly blindside them with some fireballs and other such spells. At which point they realize once again that they have killed all the people who actually had answers. The party seems to have a bit of a running thing now where they keep doing this and then realizing, crap, we killed everyone with answers. So they keep saying that they're going to try to, keep people alive now to try to get answers, but we'll see. We'll see if they actually follow through. I believe in them. I trust them. They will make the right decisions, I'm sure. Anywho, so they managed to find Kaya's body. Oh, is in my notes here. I wrote the wrong name. Too many hobgoblins. Body, and they ask it questions. They discover that it is in fact likely a setup. That it is all part of Madoc and the Hand's goal of starting a war. They discover that 1, yes, they were the ones put in charge of kidnapping the prince. 2, this was the help of an inside man, but it would seem Caius did not know who this was and so was not able to give them answers for that. And 3, that the prince was in fact taken to their base. So from there, the party travels straight to Madoc's base and however, along the way, they encounter a wandering clay golem. They decide to fight it and discover something rather strange. The golem is actually rather fixated on Ragnar, completely ignoring other party members to the point that even leaves itself completely open to their attacks, all for the sake of seemingly to attack Ragnar. They kill it, but not before it goes totally berserk and kills Ragnar's horse. And within the clay golem itself, they actually find what looks to be some sort of brass disc bearing a symbol resembling Ragnar's new grace, but broken in 2 segments centered in a wheel. They pocket this, hope to discover a bit about it later on, and continue to make their way to the base. They make it to Madoc's base during the night and put together a plan. Ragnar and Sirquin, once more, don disguises as Rob and Fenrir await outside. Which was something, I gotta say, I did not expect them to do. They spent this entire next encounter split up into 2 groups. First group is Ragnar and Sirquin, who are going inside the base. The second group is Fenrir and Rob, who remained outside. I gotta say, considering they split the party 2 and 2, they did a lot better than I expected. So, Ragnar and Sirquin sneak their way through the fort and reach its center, where Madoc and the Martyr are forcing the prince to fight for his life against one of their soldiers. The prince, however, is refusing to fight, much to the hobgoblin's annoyance, as he spouts off his speech about how Orthia has grown weak and that the crowning of the prince will only make it weaker. And at this point, Ragnar and Sirquin rush to his aid. They attack and manage to dismantle the enemy's fighting style, as they quickly kill the surrounding hobgoblins and incapacitate Madoc with Ragnar's runes. Due to that, this fight actually became very easy, as the Martyr, all of his abilities are centered around giving orders to other individuals and organizing them, and they killed all of the dudes around him. And Madoc, who would have been kind of the primary force of damage in this, was round 1 stunned, and due to a poor ability score on the particular save, was unable to break out of that stun and remained so pretty much for the entire fight. So as they kind of honestly kick the ass of those 2, Rob and Fenrir, feeling the ground shake from the numerous fireballs being launched underground, rush to the walls to assist their allies. They quickly make use of Fenrir's new magic item, as he used it to use one of its other abilities to cast Conjure Barrage, allowing him to actually shoot up over the wall and killing the majority of the hobgoblins in the courtyard. By the way, Conjure Barrage, great spell. If you're a ranger, take that spell if you want to do some big damage to big groups. Anyways. So as they fight off the stragglers in the courtyard, it's at this point that they actually discover the curse of 7 bullets, as when Finnegir shoots the 7th arrow, it teleports and shoots Rob right in the back. By the time they reach the bottom of the fort, they actually find that both Madoc and the Martyr have been defeated by Ragnar and Cyrdaquin, and the main hobgoblins are standing down as their leaders have been defeated. So the party quickly scoops up the Martyr's body, knowing that due to his ability to likely revive within a day, as well as they grab the prince and Madoc's adamantine sword and leave the fort. So as the party travels back to the city with the Martyr in tow and the prince under their protection, As they travel, Finnegir is possessed by a Kioi, just as Ragnar was the last time they captured the Martyr, who frees the Martyr while the party sleeps. And the party attempts to give chase, at which point the Finnegir, possessed by this creature, attacks the party. They manage to knock him out, forcing the Kioi out of its body, and they manage to kill it as well. They realize that as he was free basically for Finnegir's entire watch, about a 4-hour period, the lead he has on them will leave it pretty much impossible to track him during the night, and they decide to give up the chase of the Martyr, not wanting to risk the prince being captured or killed once more. The next morning, as the party nears the way station, they're met by a group of Orthier samurai that feign that they are there to help the party. As the prince approaches to mount the horse they provide, he is attacked by an assassin, and the samurai reveal their intention is to kill him and the party. This fight actually proves to be much more difficult, as the party barely survives, as the assassin, situated up on the hills, continues to fire on the party with his sneak attacks. An evocation wizard in the back line of the samurais peppers the party with various AoE effects. The samurais themselves kind of create a bit of a wall of defense, making it difficult for them to reach the assassin and wizard, who are kind of the main forces of danger. The whole time, the prince is down to 1 HP due to an attack from the assassin. Rob, with a very, very smart use of the banishment spell, actually temporarily banishes the prince into a little pocket dimension, keeping him safe for a couple of turns while the party takes out some of the enemies. He unfortunately loses concentration, so he's not able to do that for the whole fight, but it gave them just enough time to get in range of the main attackers and clear out all the enemies. So the party just barely manages to survive, but they win and save the prince once more. As they reach the city, they return to Orthier Embassy along with Adwick, who they met up at the guild along the way to kind of help them with the more diplomatic side of things. So they go over what happened with Jitsuna, who frees Rohan and profusely apologizes for his misunderstanding of the situation. As Adwick goes with Jitsuna to kind of figure out all the sort of the political repercussions of this event and kind of help smooth things over, the party speaks alone with the prince and Rohan. The prince voices his concerns and thanks the party for their counsel, as they suspect further dissent from within, suspecting Jitsuna himself of being responsible. They speak with the prince kind of at length here, who really thanks the party for all the help he's given them, and vows to, should they need anything, to ask him. If he can provide it, he will. And of course, he will reward them for this effort in just the same way. He seems to have a little more pep in his step at this point, as the party kind of emboldens him with some confidence, and that they believe in his use, that, trying to lead with words and not with the brute force that they once did during the wars. So as they part now, a friend of the prince, the party is told that they may ask for a reward, as I said. The party decides that Madoc's Balin Fort would be an excellent reward for them. And so, they are gifted the fort and are named barons of the land. Basically made the first new I mean, it's like a lesser noble title, but technically a noble title all the same. And the first people to actually own land on the frontier. With the only stipulation being that they have to allow the Rudaya Ortho and the guild itself to actually garrison troops at the fort. The party, obviously not having any sort of standing military force themselves, agreed to this. And so the party turns to the inn. So they return to the inn and told by Adric that they suspect the rest of the Witch's Hand must have retreated further into the frontier towards the frigid Shards, as the party has yet to encounter any of the rest of them on the Fields of Judgment. And so the party prepares to set out for their next journey. As they settle in, they learn from the innkeeper that Kira, the bored friend from the inn, has actually been missing for 2 weeks. Thus begins the Lost Side adventure. So the party discusses what they believe happened to Kira. After hearing that he was last seen speaking with Yrsa, Ragnar concludes that he was simply turned down and decides to go to the library to study the books he obtained from Maddox Fort. Rob manages to drag Sirquin and Finnedir along to go searching for Kira, and they start by asking Yrsa about the last meeting. After waiting some time for her to arrive, she tells the party that Kira showed her his new song, but she was not able to return his feelings, and that he left shortly afterwards. Feeling somewhat guilty and worried for him, she does go to help the party to look for him, though. The search brings them to a beggar, who tells them that he saw him at an old storehouse. Upon entering it, the party is ambushed by a group of undead. They manage to dispatch them and conclude that it was a setup from the necromancer they believed to be part of the Witch's Hand. With that in mind, they conclude that the ambush was for them and had nothing to do with Kira at all. Rob, at this point, realizing he has access to the Locate Creature spell, uses it to try to find Kira, who he does manage to find, not far from the storehouse at all. Kira tells them that he left for home after meeting with Yrsa that night and only recently returned. He apologizes for the trouble, but seems somewhat happy that Yrsa assisted in finding him, and quite happy that the party cared enough to, come looking for him at all. Yrsa, however, kind of latching onto what Sirquin said about her knowledge of this necromancer in the Witch's Hand, kind of presses her for details concerning this matter. Sirquin lets slip that she did in fact have contact with Vice, and the two discuss the matter. Yrsa seems pretty much ready to arrest Sirquin, suggesting that she has some sort of treason involved. But Sirquin manages to deflect her accusation by catching her off guard upon revealing that she slept with Vice, leaving Yrsa somewhat frustrated. Honestly, was a bit of a Chad move, I have to admit. Having calmed her down, Sirquin convinces Yrsa to keep it between them, as she believes that Vice could be a valuable ally for learning about the hand, having talked with her at length and believing that she has some goals that clearly aren't too aligned with what the hand actually has in store. Yrsa agrees to this for the time being and simply asks that Sirquin be careful in the matter. Meanwhile, at the library, Ragnar discovers through the books that the various types of creatures dwell within the dream, and the creatures the mod employed are known as Kiori, and that by using them, he may be what is known as an awakened. At this point, I forgot to mention, the party had never encountered Kiori before, so anytime I've sort of introduced any of the weird creatures from the dream, I'm always very vague about, I just kind of do my best to describe them, but I'm vague about what they actually are. As well as the Awakened is another creature from the Eberron setting. As I might have mentioned before, there's a lot of sort of takeaways from Eberron in this sort of setting I made, but not really the steampunky stuff, only basically the more magic-y stuff, like the Realm of Dreams and such. Following after his midnight readings and the party filling him in on what happened on their end of things. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Maybe I'm not. It's stuck. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna sneeze. Sure feels like it though. Alright, that night, Ragnar has a dream where he's greeted by his old friend in a panic. His friend warns him that the witch's children and possibly people from within Rudaya are hunting him now, that he has the grace of the witch, and that to save himself, he must learn more of the dream and strengthen his connection to it. He tells him to travel to the Frigid Swords and find the witch Kruthai, and learn from her how to stop the witch's children and save himself. The next morning, Ragnar tells the party what happened, and they make preparations to travel to the Frigid Swords that day, as it seems all their current endeavors are leading there. They purchase winter gear as well as a couple of sleds, and they speak with Adderwick about putting together a party to help them defeat the Guardian Hydra, stopping passage from the Fierce Judgment to the Frigid Swords. So together they manage to put together a rather motley crew. First off, they employ Raven and Crow rather reluctantly to all those involved to help set up the teleportation circle at the party's new base. The party itself, along with Selene, who will be moving into the party's fort and continue acting as their advisor. Adderwick himself, traveling to give a payback on the Guardian. And then Yrsa and Rohan to help them fight the Hydra as repayment for all they've done for them. And so, they transport the party to the party's new acquired fort and prepare each in their own way for the battle to come. As they prepare, Ragnar reads a book with Dash, discovering she herself is also able to read the witch's script. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Raven and Crow do in fact bring Dash with them, because, I mean, they won't just go leave her at home alone. Anyways, basically learning that she can read the witch's script kind of further confirms those suspicions that Dash is in fact one of the witch's children. At which point, he actually spots Yrsa eyeing Dash strangely, leaving the party speculating as to what has her so fixated on the child. And that brings us to the most recent session. So the party sets out onto the frontier to confront the Guardian Hydra and make their way to the Frigid Swords. During their travel, and due to a roll of 20 on the random encounter, as well as a roll that got the party lost on the survival check, the Guardian Hydra actually finds the party completely blindsiding them. And the fight ensues pretty much right off the bat. At this point, though, the party's actually well practiced with fighting Hydras, and they surround it using fire to stunt its regeneration. But a swipe of its tail actually manages to knock Rob unconscious, and a bite takes down Yrsa. The party manages to defeat it with a final arrow from Fenrir piercing its one remaining skull, killing the beast. That's the sneeze. Yeah, bless me. So yeah, they managed to... I know I kind of hyped up this fight, but I gotta admit, they managed it way more easily than I expected. So really not much to write home about this fight, honestly. They really wiped the floor with it. Rob was knocked unconscious, but he got back up, and then he healed up the rest of the party so no one died. However, as Yrsa was knocked unconscious, they discovered something rather interesting. As they awakened, they discovered that Yrsa was in fact wearing a hat of disguise, and she bears a striking resemblance to Dash, thus also meaning she has the same sort of telltale signs of the witch's children. They become very suspicious of her and talk with her, and as she has full choice, she reveals her true identity. She is in fact Sith Mather, Princess of Odaya. She explains that she was adopted by the king and queen during the war, and that she knows nothing of her birth family, but as such has only ever seen the king and queen as her true family. However, after seeing Dash, who looks so much like her, she begins to wonder about her origins. The party explains that they have met one other besides Dash, who has the looks of the witch's children, and speculate that they are in fact children of the witch, though they speculate that that this title could actually not mean an actual blood relation, but possibly some sort of magical type tie to them. She does state, however, that she has no knowledge of any of this, but has gained a great interest in Dash and the possibility that she, in fact, has a younger sister. To which the party then also discovers that she does, in fact, have one of the rings they're looking for. She agrees to go show it to Dash and speak with her when she has the time. As she has been traveling out into the adventuring in secret, she knows that she can't really keep that up, and of course, with the help of Adderwick, manages to persuade the party that they need to just keep all of this under wraps, needing to ensure that she makes it back safely. Sorry, bleh, tongue-tied, mouth dry, taking a sip. Adderwick travels with her to escort her back to the city, while Rohan continues to travel with the party to transport their wagon back once they reach to the fort after they reach the Frigid Swords. That night, Ragnar receives a message in his dream. There he sees a shadowy figure claiming to be Kruthai, the very witch they're looking for. She tells him that the Hydra was a creation of hers, as well as some other creatures they've encountered. And now that he has the Grace of the Witch, the blood of her creation on his hands, as well as the contact with numerous members of the Witch's children at this point, she was able to more easily find him and contact him. She warns him of her siblings and offers to answer any questions he has about the dream in exchange for helping her should they be able to find her within the Frigid Swords. Ragnar, being a man interested in research, finds little issue with this deal and decides to inform the party of such as they proceed with caution. So, as they reach the canyon that separates the Fields of Judgment from the Frigid Swords, they find the path blocked by a seemingly deranged and misshapen frost giant with two heads, calling to itself again and again to find it. Ragnar attempts to speak with it, but doesn't seem to listen, driven completely insane by something or the other. Though it is a close fight, with several of the party members actually falling through the frozen ponds surrounding this battlefield, they manage to defeat it, and in searching these frozen ponds, actually find a number of interesting items. The first is a gem worth 5,000 gold. Second is armor. Appears to be sort of a mix of a Dia and Orthia make. And a chalice depicting symbols of the Witch Queen, and after using an identify spell, discover has the ability to transport people physically into the dream. This being the chalice spoken of and the research notes that Ragnar had found previously. So with this discovery, they step out onto the Frigid Swords, looking upon the vast white landscape for the first time, and with the only real guidance being to travel east in search of the witch Kruthai. And that brings us to the current with this particular campaign. I'm actually running the next session of that today, so it'll be a few weeks here before I do another story time of this particular campaign, as I need kind of a whole backlog of what they got going on. But yeah, I'm really liking where the story's going. I'm having a lot of fun running this. I'm actually really excited for the Frigid Swords. I've got a bunch of really cool Arctic encounters set up. They're gonna be dealing with some of the newer hags that were added in the books, as well as various other frosty individuals. I always like trying to set up. I deal with a lot of like forest and plains and stuff, so it's nice to try to work with some different environments a bit more long term, So yeah, there'll be many a Yeti and Frost Giant in this next section of the adventure, I can tell you that much. As well as various witches and wolves and whatnot. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun indeed. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed my little story. We'll probably do another morning dungeon, probably not next Monday, but the one after. For the most part, we do these about every 2 Mondays, but if I kind of get on a roll, I might have something ready by the next one. So we'll see how things go. In any case, no particular announcements really, other than I have actually managed to work on some of my script writing a bit more, and it's like, something like not just like my D&D writing, because like I managed to have time for that, because it's like I don't need too much time for that. I got a big backlog on that. But I mean, my other writing for like I might have mentioned before, I kind of like to try to do like script writing for games and such. And I recently managed to kind of crack that open again and begin work on that again. So So it'll be a little while. I mean, writing something decent can take some time, but hopefully in the not too distant future, I'll have something real cool to show you guys with that. I'm working hard trying to put something nice together. So I hope you guys like it whenever it's done. And hopefully maybe I can make something with it. I don't have any experience developing a game by myself, but you know, it's like sometimes it's like doing it yourself is kind of the best way to get it done, and it's hard to kind of get a group together to make the thing I'm writing. So I might try to take a crack at it myself, but you know, just kind of got to see how things go. You know, what time allots me and whatnot. But yeah, in any case, thank you guys for watching. Hope you had a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Our next video will be a regular scheduled stream tomorrow evening. We'll be doing some more Library of Ruina, trying to beat some more abnormalities. I'm really struggling with those ones, but I mean, we made some good progress last time if you guys caught that one, so should be a lot of fun. In any case, thank you guys again. Wish you all a nice day and safe travels. Bye.